Hey, everybody, this is Digital History Podcast, and we're back again with Chris.
Yes.
I mean, Harper. So, Chris.
Yes.
Uh, I'm Ren, and
I am Harper.
yeah, right. And tonight's episode, it's going to be focusing on. We've done a podcast about countries, but we're going to try to make it even more specific this time, and focus it on places. So it's a very simple format. We're just going to talk about places that we enjoyed traveling to, but we're just going to pick one place. So it's like a very, very specific discussion. And then we're going to talk about one place we really, really want to visit and possibly talk about some historical relevance behind that place. So, yeah, that's basically the topic. So, yeah, so that part.
Yeah,
So,
pretty easy.
yeah, basically, I'll go first, and we're gonna go.
Okay.
We're gonna go first with places that we have been to. Okay,
Huh.
and I'll go in a very more specific way. A place that I've always, sorry, a country that I've always visited. I've been there, but I believe 15 times is Japan. So I love Japan. Chris lives in Japan.
Yeah.
And the place that I'm going to talk about that I really, really enjoyed in Japan is actually the first time I went to Japan was Osaka Castle. Um, Now, I will just say this, and I'm not trying to get some hate, but I actually don't like Osaka as much. My favorite place in Japan is Tokyo and Kyoto,
I
but
agree with you. Don't worry.
maybe the audience will. Yes, but
That
yeah, but but Osaka Castle, I will have to say, is definitely like top three most historical reasons, top
hmm,
three best places in Japan. First of all, it's like a very amazing symbol, like it's a symbol of Japan. It's kind of the image you imagine a Japanese castle looks like. Got that like the tree look. Yeah, exactly. It's behind.
kind
It's
of looks like this one right here.
That castle is behind Chris.
Yeah.
That's actually Himeji Castle.
Yeah.
Himeji Castle is the biggest castle in Japan, but I would say Osaka Castle is the most
Well known.
well known, but I think beautiful. I don't know what you think, but
Hmm.
especially so I'll try to explain it first. Why I think it's so beautiful is that when the first time I was in Japan, I basically had they don't speak English well, and I don't really know where I'm going. At the time, I did not have internet on my phone. This is like 2013, so it's not that common, right? So, but I remember I had a general idea of where Osaka Castle was, and someone was like, "Go to this station, get off, and walk." I'm
Oh
like, "Just
yeah.
walk?" They're like, "Just walk." I'm like, "Okay." And the cool, very trippy thing is like you're walking, and it's just like okay, regular Japanese buildings. You got convenience stores everywhere. I think it's like an overpass, subway,
Yeah.
the JR lines
I think
above
there's
you,
actually it's called like Osaka Koen or
metro,
Osaka
whatever.
Joe
Yeah,
Koen or something. Yeah.
yeah, maybe. Yes, Osaka Joe Cohen. Yeah, and then but then you basically come up to like some trees, and it's like a mini forest, and you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. There's like trees here in the middle of the city, and it's like
It's a
thousands of trees,
really
right?
big park. A
Yes,
really big
it's a
park.
huge park, and then as you're approaching towards the park, you're like, okay, this must be where the castle is. And it's just a very beautiful image of just like the trees, and then you see the top part of the castle, like not overlooking, but just like stretching past the trees.
Peeking out.
Yeah, and it's like it's very peaceful. It's very serene, and it's just like, wow, that is very beautiful. Like I said, I don't like I don't like Osaka that much, but like the Osaka castle image and memory is always like it's always in my head, and it's always very beautiful. And it is absolutely massive. Like
Yeah.
the so I can ask you this because you would know better. Are all castles in Japan built with the massive moat? No, right?
Um, the ones that I have seen always have at least one moat. They might have like an outer moat and then like an inner moat. Um,
Oh yes,
and I
yes.
know that Osaka definitely does have one.
But the point I was trying to make was like
think Himeji has two. Yeah,
maybe, but the point I'm trying to make was Osaka Castle's moat is like massive.
Yeah, it goes
Like the
around. Okay,
walls are like freaking humongous. It's like it's imposing. It's like whoa,
yes.
yeah,
And the thing that you mentioned where it was like just peaceful and quiet.
yes,
That's one of the things I love about Japan. It's like you can literally walk down like a busy
mm-hmm,
street and then you take like a left into like a shrine or a temple and
mm-hmm,
it's
totally,
and
totally.
Osaka, the only weird part about it now is that, or the Osaka castle, I guess I should say, is that that entire park is now, it's not touristy, but they've got like a Starbucks
Mm,
there, like on the outskirts of it, and they've got
mm.
like a train ride for the kids that rides by, so you hear like
Oh,
tunes playing. Um,
do they still have those
um,
hawk guys?
yeah, like the Falconeer guys.
Oh, the
Yeah,
falconeers.
it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
but it's like the castle itself, when you're standing like right across the moat, like the moat that leads to like the central area of the castle, and you
Hmm.
look up at it, like it's, whether it's spring and you see all the cherry blossoms around it, or it's like the
Wow.
dead of winter and you can just like
Hmm.
feel like the coldness of the imposing thing that you're about to like go up
Hmm.
against. Like
Yes,
it's,
yes, yes.
Osaka Castle is refurbished, but it is still an imposing force of like a people who are going to like have to cross this like cold water to climb up this steep rock path to like it's, it is an icon
And
of Japan.
I will say, so I've been to Japan 15 times. I've probably seen, just gonna throw off the top of my head, probably seen like 12 no, sorry, like 10 castles. Unfortunately, some of those castles aren't even real historically.
Yeah.
They're just like made as a tourist site.
Yeah.
Atami is one of them.
Yeah.
I believe
It's got
Nagoya.
an arcade in one.
Nagoya is not a
I
real
don't
castle. They just
I
built
don't
it
think I've
after
been
the.
to Nagoya.
We've been to Nagoya together
Possibly. I don't
for like
remember
half a
this.
night, like a night,
Maybe.
and then we saw the castle on the like randomly on the road, and it's like not even a real castle. And I
Yeah.
believe
Atami has an arcade and an art exhibit in it, so I don't really know
not when I
what.
was there.
Yeah,
When
no,
I was there, there was no arcade.
yeah.
Hiroshima's castle is not real, apparently. I mean,
Well,
oh,
yeah. Well,
you
let's
mean
not get into that subject.
no? It
Like,
was built before.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there was one there before, and
Oh, I
then
didn't realize. I thought it was a fake
America
one.
brought in some
Mhm.
freedom, if you
Yes.
will. So it
But anyway,
definitely is not original.
so my point about all these castles is that if you go to Osaka Castle, it's like absolutely humongous, and it's
Yeah,
if you go inside the castle, and of course, like Chris said, it's refurbished. There's like an elevator in there, two
yeah, and a
elevators.
gift shop.
There's like yeah, gift shop. There's like modern stairs there. It's like not
Yeah.
it's not legit, right? But one cool thing is like they will have there's like a museum aspect to it where there's like they show older pictures
Yeah.
or like not pictures like
Yeah.
paintings and you see like what Osaka Castle was before and it's just
Hmm.
like an actual like almost like a city built inside
Yeah.
of it and you're just
Yeah.
like damn it is that big and it's
It was like the castle was the main hub, and then all around the outskirts, it
yeah
was like the next royalty, and then it was like a moat, and then it was like the people who like
the towns
like
around
the
or whatever the
farmers.
heck
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
yeah
And they
and it's
had
like
like
oh
another wall.
this is a barracks
Yeah,
there's all this it's crazy
yeah,
and then yeah so Osaka Castle was set up by Toyotomi Hideyoshi or Hideyoshi Toyotomi
yeah.
maybe
I'll
switching the
just
name up um but he basically unified Japan and Osaka was like his home base so like Osaka Castle is the most imposing thing even though Himeji see that's the crazy thing Himeji is like way bigger but Osaka Castle seems more beautiful. That's just
yeah.
me.
Himeji also has like the whole grounds around it. Like there's like a little kids
Yes.
zoo.
Oh,
But
yeah, I
I
bet.
know for a fact that one has like a moat that you go into, and then it's not just the castle, but they still have like the surrounding like barracks area around it that you can like tour.
Mm,
And the whole castle was under renovation for like 5 or 6 years. I think I went with you.
no, I was with Carolyn.
Then I went with one of our other friends,
Maybe, yeah.
and I went up with it, and then I came down, and then the next time I went, everything of the castle was under renovation, and they just had like the scaffolding around it, and then on the
Yes.
scaffolding it had like the painting of the castle, but you could still visit the grounds of it.
Oh,
Now it's open, and surprisingly, this Lego set looks a lot like it, and they've got little landmarks that you can go to it. But there's nothing inside. It's just a
Right.
5-story big like pole in the middle. But they do have some augmented reality that you can like take a picture with your phone, and you can like look around of how it was.
Wow.
But
That's way
there's
before
no
when I was the
yeah, but there's no like historical like pieces inside to make it like a
right, right.
museum. But it's not
Yes.
refurbished like Osaka. If that
Right.
makes sense.
And like a mass, yeah.
Or
And
renovated.
Himeji Castle is just Himeji, like the town of Himeji.
Yeah, that's
And like
it.
that's your that's the point of going to the town.
Yeah,
Um
and you can see
yes.
it from the train station.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's just my little discussion on Osaka Castle. So Chris, what's the place that you really enjoyed going to?
Oddly enough, or maybe it's not oddly enough, it's in Japan as well. I've been here for about 10 years, and I've been to all the places that you've wanted to go to, from Tokyo, Nagano, Himeji, Osaka, Kobe, all the places. But there's one place that really stood out to me, because it's unlike any other part of Japan. It's called Tottori. Um,
Never
and it's
been.
on
So.
the actually, and I hate to say this, the recent earthquake that literally happened on January 1st,
Mm.
like 3, 4, 5 days ago, is more closer to where I am, but it's on like, if you're looking at the main part of Japan, it's kind of like the north central area. But they're famous for gigantic sand dunes. And
Mm.
it's not like just like when you go to the beach and they have like the sand things. Like it's like they have camel rides there. You can ride a camel. And they
Native to
have like
Japan.
a camel?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say camel in Japan is not kamuru, it's the rakuda, which is not a normal. Anyways, but they have like it's a huge sand area, but they have these
Mm.
gigantic sand dunes that people will actually like jump with like little parasails and like fly down on. Um,
Oh Lord.
and you can ride a camel, but they've got like this little oasis stream. And one of the hills you can climb, which is like the biggest one, is like a near vertical climb that you can go straight up on. And then they had a Pokemon Go event out there, probably I say 3 or 4 years ago. It's probably 5 or 6 now, where you could get a certain thing, and they trampled the wildlife out there. So they're like, okay, you can't come out here anymore, and they like blocked off like an area. Um, but aside from the sand dunes, it's also, if anybody out there is a fan of Conan the Detective, it's an anime, or Gegege no Kitaro. I don't. It's like a dude that's got like a hair over his eye, and his eye popped out, and it's like his grandpa or something. Gegege no
Gintama?
Kitaro. Gegege no Kitaro, I think is what it's called. I'm probably wrong. I don't
No
watch anime
clue.
that much.
No
But the guy who
clue.
made that and Detective Conan are actually from that city, I believe. And like you can fly into it on his
So
airplane theme stuff.
the city is called Tottori, or
Yeah,
is it a prefecture? It's a city.
it's
Oh, okay.
it's I believe it's a prefecture, but it's also a city.
Mm. And the
But
sand dunes, are they natural?
yes, from my understanding,
Mm.
they are. It's like a natural reserve. They're free to go to. But also on these sand dunes, they also have people who have like gone and constructed gigantic sand monuments.
Cool.
And it's like a museum that you can go into, and they change it periodically throughout the year to fit like certain themes. That one, I don't remember if you have to pay to get into, but you can't film and then use it on like social media to show you, or I would show
I
you my videos
this is
and
a
photos.
a separate point. Excuse me. But one thing that's kind of cool about Japan is that even though it's quite a big country, it's actually not that big in a way. And because you have bullet trains, you can just go anywhere. So it's kind of cool because in Japan, every city, major city, every prefecture, there's like stuff to do, which is like
Yeah,
pretty cool.
you can't take a bullet train to Tottori, unfortunately.
Oh, oh, you're right. I'm sure. Yes, yes.
The
I just
last
meant
time
like
I
it's all
went,
interconnected. But yeah.
yeah, like it's easy to
Hmm.
get to. It's easy to travel to.
Hmm.
Um, when I took it from my old place, it was near Kobe. I had to take it was like a 6.5 hour train ride, but they force you to stop at a place called Kinosaki Onsen. And it's a place that's famous for onsens. And of course, once you arrive there, you have to wait at least an hour for the next train so you can jump in the hot tubs and get naked with other dudes in an onsen,
Right.
which is great. It's like a refresher. But then you go there and then you go to Tottori and it's like summer in August and you're sweating like crazy.
Mm.
But they also have like a really cool fish market where you can go in and like buy like the fresh stuff. And then like the dude will be like, okay, I'll sell you this crab, and it's like still moving, and then he's like, yeah, and like kills it and then like cooks it for you.
Mm.
But then they also have like an aquarium, oddly enough, an aquarium like right next door to this fish museum. And it's like specific on gigantic octopus and crab. So it's not one of the big cities like Osaka, Kobe, Hiroshima, Tokyo, or even if you know like Okinawa. But
Mm.
Tottori is one of those places for me that I've been to like 3 or 4 times because every time I go, it's just
Whoa, that many
yeah,
times.
no. Oh, dude, it's one of those hidden gems of Japan that not too many people know about. And it's like, dude, you can ride a camel in Japan on a sand dune and then literally go across the street and have like a fishmonger like hack up a crab for you. Um, yeah, it's one of the places that I actually have like favorited on my Google thing. And most people I
Nice.
know who've lived here for like 20 years have never even heard of it or been to it.
Yeah,
So
you do get that problem with Japan, with like any other major country. It's kind of like Americans only stay in America, or like people
yeah.
in LA only stay in California. Um,
Hmm.
that is something I would say a little bit different with Japanese. I would say maybe is
Hmm.
that Japanese, because it's accessible for them. They really go around Japan. Like they go to the famous onsens, they go to the famous cities. They
Yeah.
if they want to enjoy winter, like real winter, they go to Sapporo.
Yeah.
Or they really want to enjoy the beach, they might go to Hawaii, but they probably go to Okinawa too. Uh,
Hawaii, the second state of Japan.
yeah.
Um,
Um, but yeah,
no,
that's a cool thing about Japan.
yeah, I just
Definitely.
went to a place in Nagano, which is known as like the Swiss
Oh, that's
Alps of
another right,
Japan,
right, right, right.
and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful scene of the mountains where you're like, wow, it's a huge mountain. I can walk up there, but it's people just go there to see it, and they're like, all right, we're done, let's go. So
Man, maybe. Yeah.
yeah,
I
but
actually have
no,
not been in
Totori's
not
cool.
gonna. Nice. Yeah, for me, if you're interested in anime, Japanese culture, Japan is like a dream. It's like Anthony Bourdain put it best. Well, he was talking about Tokyo, but he said the first time you go to Tokyo, it's like you're on an acid trip, LSD trip, and it's like I've never done it, but I'm sure he's right because it's like
Yeah, but we both
everything
went
at
to the
once.
robot restaurant. And he
Anthony
went
Bourdain's
there and he
recommendation.
yeah, and he went there and he was like, "What I have seen Cirque du Soleil, I've seen this. What I just saw, I can't even explain to you what was going
Right.
on." And I try to explain to people what we witnessed in the
Yeah,
robot
yeah.
restaurant, which I'm not sure if it's still around or not due to certain things.
Oh, really? Because the Yakuza.
Yeah. No, no.
Oh,
Apparently, there was certain things they were doing where they were dressing in certain uniforms and dancing
really?
around. Yeah. Now, when we went,
Oh, they
we
were in
saw.
bikinis.
Yeah, they were in bikini. Okay. Anybody
Yeah.
who's listening or watching this is literally what the show was. It was gigantic robots
Yep.
wearing LED whatever,
Yep.
fighting against women in Playboy bunny bikinis,
On a dragon or
wielding
something.
wielding Thor's Mjolnir hammer. On the other arm was Captain America's shield, riding an LED tank, battling like a cyborg on a one wheeler.
And in
Now,
between that, there's like women drumming on like other
yeah,
robots, and it's
yeah,
just
like
like
traditional drums as they'd come through on
yeah,
like
yeah,
this
yeah, taiko
gigantic
drums. Yeah,
parade float.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
if any of that seems appealing to you, just imagine what you can enjoy with a traditional bento box and a beer or nihonshu, which is sake.
And
Um,
I don't know
it's
about
amazing.
now, but you said it might be closed, but we paid. So at the
It's like
time we paid.
500 yen.
No, it was like $50.
Ah,
We
it's still worth it.
yeah, okay, we paid $50. The last time I saw, it's now like $120.
Really?
It
And
became so popular.
we even went before that and got like that raw crab cooked on the thing at the izakaya beforehand. It's
Oh
like we
yeah,
had the meal before. Yeah.
oh
No,
yeah.
no. But the best part about the whole show, if you remember this, was the waiting room before going into it.
Oh yeah, it's like a
And
diamond
this
room.
is
Yes, yes,
okay.
yes.
Thank you. I was going to say this is not an exaggeration. It was like
Mm,
diamond and gold plated walls everywhere. Like
yeah,
the
yeah.
toilet itself was a gold plated wall toilet.
Yes, and I will say, Gordon Ramsay, Anthony Bourdain's video didn't mention that part. The
No,
waiting
like
room. He was just in the
dude,
waiting room, like drinking a beer and talking about it. And
yeah,
then
and it was like
the
a robotic
discussion.
dinosaur that you like
Yeah,
touched,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah.
Oh
When
man,
yeah, that we were not prepared for that part, and it was just like,
no,
oh crap! Like this is like a diamond, like mirror room, and
it
it was
was
huge.
it was
It
huge,
like
and it was
stretched
like super
all the way
reflective.
down, and then
Yeah,
so
and
people
there
that are
was like a
watching,
bar in there too.
yeah. And
Yeah,
if people that are watching, you're wondering like, how is it that cheap? Like, why would they have that there? And why would they have such a massive building dedicated to that?
well,
Yakuza.
well.
So
How do
they
you think the
controlled it pretty
performers
much.
there were being paid through their visas? Now, I'm
No, they're
allegedly,
probably Japanese. Oh, they're not
yeah.
Japanese.
I don't know. I don't know
Oh,
what was going on there. All I know
I
is it was super cheap entertainment. It was
okay.
something I can't explain other than that. And
I know we're going
Power
off on
Rangers
this.
and Giant, yeah.
I know we're going. We're going on tangent. Did you ever go to the Samurai Museum in Kabukicho?
Samurai Museum. No, I've been to a
So I
ninja
went there.
museum.
I went there in 2019.
Okay.
So it's like apparently one of the best collections of samurai like hardware in all of
Really?
Japan. And
In
I went there.
Kabukicho?
It's like $30, and I went and I paid for it. And there's like tour groups going on the entire time, and it's like legit. There's like 30 different like samurai armors. One's from this warrior class, whatever. Funny thing though, so I always go alone, right? So
Oh.
I'm just kind of curious. I approach the tour guide, and I'm like, yeah, like, um, this museum, is it owned by the government? And then the tour guy was like, no,
Yes.
no, no, it's owned by it's donated by people that own these things.
Ah,
And I was like, so is it owned by one man? Like one? He's like, yeah, it's mostly owned by one person. I'm like, a businessman? He was like, I'd rather not say. I was like, oh,
oh,
okay.
oh.
Oh,
It's like
Yakuza. I was like, all right.
if I say I might
Yeah.
be out
He
of a
was he was
job.
like, oh yes, he does business. And I'm like, oh, what kind of business? Like, he's like, I don't want to say. And I was like, oh, okay. Got it. Like, and it's
You may
Kabuki
have
Show, which
heard
is
of
kind
him.
of
His name is Tommy Lee Jones, Boss Coffee.
great
Um,
commercials, by the way. Anyway,
oh
we're
yeah,
getting derailed. Um, but yeah,
yeah.
Japan is just like the funnest times.
There's a
And
lot of good history here, some of which is
yes,
not. But yeah, Robot Restaurant, if it's still alive, check it out. Tottori, also worth the checking out.
Osaka Castle,
Although, yeah, Osaka
the
Castle's good
city.
too.
Sorry, guys.
And
Sorry,
Himeji,
residents.
yeah,
Himeji.
city of
Um,
Osaka is
yeah. Sorry, guys. Whoever lives there.
fun.
Um, So okay. So now we're gonna go into a thing that a place we both would like to go, and we're trying to go for like a singular place, and that's very interesting to us.
Ooh,
Um, you want to go first, or I go first?
no, you can go first.
Okay. So the place that I really want to go to, it's always been my dream. It's actually ironically the number one place I want to go to in the whole world, even
The
before
Alamo.
Japan.
Oh, okay.
No, I will say a really dark joke. I don't want to say it right now. So, I really, I always wanted to go here, even before Japan, which was, it's in France. It's Versailles, right? The Palace of Versailles, and
That's where
yeah,
the treaty was made.
yes, many
Yeah.
treaties, yes.
See,
And
non-history person.
I've always been
Treaty of Versailles.
fascinated by Versailles because of the sheer size of it, the beauty of it. It was built by Louis the 14th. People may not know this. Versailles originally was a hunting lodge, and basically all that land was used for hunting. And then Louis the 14th came in and basically made it into a absolutely massive, like, mini city basically. And at one point, I believe Versailles had like 5,000 people live there, and they're all like nobles, right? And the whole point of Versailles was for Louis the 14th to basically have all the nobles stay there. And typical, it's like crazy, like I'm pretty sure like there's like orgies going on, people gamble there all the time, and basically they relied upon Louis the 14th. And yeah, like Versailles was like its own little, I guess you could say.
But that's what the Treaty of Versailles was, right? Like whatever happens at Versailles doesn't leave Versailles.
I mean, the Germans left, but
Well,
yeah, yeah. It basically is just like an insane place of just like fun, you could say,
hmm.
and there are many places in Versailles that are very famous. One's called the Hall of Mirrors. It's an entire hall of just hundreds of mirrors and glass, and it's like it's unbelievable. It's beautiful and unbelievable. The gardens are famous for their attraction and beauty. There's like a famous flower garden. There's a famous like I think there's like two lakes. Everything is there in beauty. Um, Funny story is that I've never been to France. My brother went to France for his honeymoon, and he called me. He was like, "Hey, I'm in Versailles now." I'm like, "Oh, damn, you're so lucky. Like, I love Versailles, blah 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 blah." And he's just like, "Well, we can't go in." And I'm like, "What? Why can't you go in? You didn't buy a ticket?" "No, we came on the day it was closed." And I'm just like, "Oh Lord, the greatest palace in the world," and they went on the day it was closed. So,
I hate that
yeah.
feeling when Starbucks is closed as well.
Or
Actually, I
a
don't care
nice
for
restaurant.
Starbucks, but yeah.
But and people may not know the palace itself is like I believe it's the biggest palace in Europe. So you go to like Buckingham Palace. So I didn't know this, but Buckingham Palace apparently is tiny. Like in London, it's like tiny compared to like Versailles. Versailles is like an entire like it's huge, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, it's the place that I've always wanted to go and always dreamed about going. Uh, I'll be ashamed to admit, but it used to be my what do they call it? My desktop image, my background image,
Really?
the Versailles. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it
Yeah.
was it was hilarious because it would be on my computer, and in front the picture would be like the palace in the background, and there's like a dude in the front laying down with like some like Cupid looking child flying, I think. And I used to have my friends come by my computer, and they're like, "Oh, you're such a like creep." And I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "It's with a little kid." I'm like, "Oh, come on, it's a statue."
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
All of my desktops are like video games or just random like space pictures I found. Like what?
space pictures.
So yeah, like
Oh,
we'll not get into that. I'm actually want to
okay,
deep dive here. What is
okay.
your obsession with France? French stuff?
Hmm. What is my
Is
obsession with France?
it the love of pan, the love of bread,
Nothing fun. Um,
pan
I
bread?
don't know. I just love French history. Uh,
Interesting.
I will say when I was young, much younger, like middle school, I was really interested in the idea of kings. Like
Hmm.
because we're American, like
Yeah, we got rid of that.
presidents and like
Yeah,
we got rid of it. We're
yeah.
like we vote and
1774.
then
Before that, that didn't happen.
1776, my friend.
Yeah, that's
Not
what I
seven-
said.
July 4th. That's what
Yeah,
you're
yeah. July
interested.
4th, 1776. Yeah.
But the idea of a king really fascinated me. Where like, oh, you just like listen to whatever the king says. And of
Hmm.
course I'm not like, oh, I'm power hungry. I want that. It was just like crazy how like, oh, the king controls every aspect of your country. And that actually was Louis the 14th. He was known as the
Hmm.
Sun King, right? So like he called himself the Sun King, so everything revolves around him. And yeah, like that idea
Oh.
fascinated me. Yeah, it's a pretty cool nickname. So it just fascinated me. And then on top of that, it's like France at the time was like it influenced all of Europe. Like it had the best beauty and architecture, the culture. Everybody wanted to be like the French. And at the time, they were the most powerful on the continent. Like they always had the strongest armies under Louis XIV. And then it dipped for a while. And then it's like Napoleon brought it back up. They're like the strongest by far. And it's just like,
I think that's what like has always fascinated me about Europe is like they have that. I don't want to say power struggle where it's like, oh, that you're like, oh, you're in charge. Oh, you're in charge. Oh, we have the king. We have a king.
Different
like,
balance of power.
like,
You're saying, yeah.
As an American, it's kind of like, okay, you guys do you. We'll just be our own. And
True.
Canada was like,
yeah.
Yeah, we'll do the same, eh? Except for the French lady who's in charge.
Like 51st state. No, but
yeah.
No,
America's hat.
That's
we're
very
okay
true
in the
about,
winter.
That's very true about yes, America is like we're just focused on ourselves. Historically in that sense. And then you look at Europe, it's just like constant wars and like different things going on. And
yeah, it's like this is a king. We battled them, we fought them, like territorial changes and stuff.
But like you said, like I don't know. I'm always fascinated by the idea of kings, and then Louis XIV was kind of like the most grand,
but French and not like English or anything.
But
or
the point, the point I'm trying to make is like they were the most powerful, so I like gravitated toward that towards that idea. And like, okay, if you look at Versailles and you look at there's other great palaces, like there's a one in Austria. Man, what's the name? Oh, Schönbrunn, Winter Palace.
You could be making names up. I wouldn't know. I'm not the history guy, Johnny.
Yeah, Buckingham Palace. There's many great palaces. The Escorial in Spain. They honestly are nothing compared to Versailles. Like if you look at images, it's just like Versailles is like it's probably the size of all four of those combined. Like probably. I mean, I don't know, but like it's humongous. Okay. Now, the funny thing you said about the king thing, you know, why France is like a little aside. So Versailles has like hundreds of fountains, water fountains, and it's just like a grand paradise in a way for a king. And I read this once, and I'm not sure if it's fully true, but basically, to conserve water, they would turn off the fountains. But whenever Louis was walking with his people or whatever, walking towards one of the fountains, the attendants had to immediately turn it on.
Like turn it on.
Turn it on.
Well, the king's coming. Turn it on. Turn it on.
And then it's like the beautiful fountain. He walks away. It's like they turn it off. That's what I remember reading somewhere. And it's just like that kind of idea is just, I mean, it's obviously bonkers, but it's just like pretty cool in a way. Like that kind of power. And
it's like rolling out the red carpet for everything.
Every time, every moment. Right. And yes, it's if the British were like that, if the British were the cultural center of Europe for like 200 years, I probably would have gravitated towards Britain. But like French architecture, French art, French military, kings, that idea was like the dominant.
Well, as the non-history guy, I know that like France did have other colonies outside of France. But wasn't England the one who was like, we can take over the world? And it was like they had British like empires and colonies all over the world.
Yes.
Like, would that not be something?
That was Britain really became a superpower in the 1800s. And that was when France was like
a little too late. Yeah.
Yeah. France was already on the descending. And like I said in our previous video about generals, Napoleon helped regrow that French image of just like beauty, dominance.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't know. I will say this. Another culture I'm really appealed by, and I swear to God, it's nothing to do with World War II, but is Germany. Like Prussia, Germany, their standards towards like order, like military order, they have been the most like precise, like military. Like people may be thinking like, oh, goose stepping Nazis. Like no, goose step was invented like 300 years ago in Germany. Like that kind of marching.
But that precision and stuff. Have you seen the Japanese train lines?
Oh, that is an interesting parallel that I've talked about before. The two enemies of World War II Main enemies, Italy's. Come on, okay. The two main enemies of World War II. They are so similar. It's like uncanny.
Well,
Extremely precise.
Yeah.
Extremely good at data recording. You know, they're extremely reserved in their peoples. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how similar they both are, and they're like opposite parts of the world. And okay, I know you don't drink beer, but like, did you ever drink Japanese beer?
Yeah, I've had Japanese beer
Did you think
before.
it tastes good? Did you enjoy it?
No, I'm not a beer guy.
Okay. Where did the
like
Japanese learn
really
beer making
old
from?
oats, probably from Germany, because
They
everybody
learned
knows
all
that.
from the Germans.
What is it called?
Crazy.
Oktoberfest.
When I went to Sapporo, Japanese went there to learn from Germans, and they took so much from the German culture, and they put it into Japan.
I'm a fan of whiskey, which also Japan took from don't know where, but I know that Jim Beam is now bottled here. I think by the Coca-Cola company. I'm not even kidding you.
You mean Jim Beam is owned by a Japanese company?
Okay, I think. Don't quote me on this. This is a history channel, but I think that Jim Beam was bought by Suntory.
What the heck?
Check it out. Look at it. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments. If not, then
it's like the American commercial. Jim Beam.
No, I think, and if it's not Jim Beam itself, it was like the Jim Beam bottling and distributionary of this area is owned by Suntory. I think it's right. I don't think it's anybody. Tory. It's not going to be.
Probably Suntory. Yep.
It's got to be Suntory. Yeah. Suntory's huge. Suntory is like
humongous.
Yeah.
And ironically, most of Suntory's products are only in Japan. They're not even around the world.
That doesn't surprise me.
There's no Suntory beer in LA, like in America. I mean, you get those imported ones, but I mean, like they don't sell it.
But if they own Jim Beam,
that's crazy.
Jim Beam is worldwide now.
No,
Kentucky Bourbon.
Yeah. Wow. We'll have to Google that after. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I honestly, I think they bought it. I'm not sure if it's the bottling distribution rights or if they bought the company.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, check that out.
Massive tangents.
Yes.
Let's finally finish off with the place you really would want to see.
I'm just gonna make this clean, cut, and simple. The moon.
Okay.
No. Historically speaking, I've always wanted to visit the Great Wall of China, but not as everyone says. Don't go. It's not good. It's touristy. Oh. I don't want to go there. I want to go to like not the stuff you see on like the Simpsons arcade game. I want to see where it goes like into the ocean, like the parts of the wall that are not like you go there and they're just trying to like sell you stuff. I think it'd be fascinating to show that, especially with the end of Attack on Titan. Spoiler alert. Apparently,
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Apparently, the wall is filled with colossal titans that'll destroy the world.
Oh, that part.
Not the Great Wall, just in Attack on Titan. But I would love to see that happen.
Have you actually seen the image of the Great Wall touching the ocean?
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay. So you know that.
And there's zero tourists there, which is, as a person who doesn't like people, I would love to go to there and not to the place where it's like you walk in and it's like shoulder to shoulder. It's like, oh, buy this. I don't want to go there. I would go to see, as I said earlier, with like the Tottori like sand dunes. Like, yes, it is populated, but I would love to go to a place where it's like you can see this historical thing, the Great Wall of China that everyone knows about, that you can see from space and enjoy it as like, wow, this is something that was built years ago, and not just being like, hey, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy? No, like I don't.
Yes.
That's why I would love to go to the moon.
So I will say, when it comes to the Great Wall, there's actually a location in Beijing. So if people don't know, you go to the Great Wall, you're basically going to Beijing. So there is a part of the Great Wall that is very, like, there's barely anybody there, and it's called Mu Tianyu. So that would be a place you would go to if you went to Beijing.
In Beijing itself?
Or
like Beijing. Right on the outskirts? Okay.
It's like 2 hours away, Beijing. Okay,
Okay.
but it's like a countryside area, and it's like completely untouched. Nobody's there because it's so far out. And there is, but the touristy one Harper's mentioning is called Badaling. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it in Chinese. It's called Badaling, and it's like beyond touristy. There's like people selling, figurines, like restaurants. It's like that's not what I'm here for.
Well,
there's
and
like there's like
yeah,
pandas there. It's like, what does this have to do with the Great Wall? Yeah.
kind of going on like the sidetrack of that. If you're ever in Korea, and you want to see like the
Right.
gates of Seoul,
Mm.
there's a few of them. I honestly don't remember any other than like Namdaemun, or there's like Sundaemun. I think it's the same one actually, and that's like the big one in the middle of the street where there's like a big like road around it.
Yes.
But you can literally walk up, and it's like you can see like the old wall that surrounded the city, and
Hmm.
it's not a big touristy thing, but it's like that's what I would want to see about the Great Wall of China, and not just
Yes.
like you go there and it's like, oh, let's buy some hotcakes. Oh, here's a memorabilia. Like I want to go
Yes.
and
I
visit
I will
the
say
place.
a great feeling about Great Wall is like, even if you're in the tourist area, you're just walking there and it's just like, wow, like this thing could be 1,000 years old. It could be 1,500 years old, whatever. Now, maybe people don't know this. The Beijing Great Wall, the one that everyone goes to, it's only like 600 years old. But it's
Ah,
but
it's
it's
been
part
yeah,
of the entire Great Wall complex, like not complex, the entire like Great Wall line.
yeah,
The original Great Wall started in under the Qin dynasty, the first emperor. And when I went there as a child, there is a saying in China that when you're walking at it's the modern Great Wall grounds, but they say when you're walking up to the wall, like I remember as a kid, my mom was like, "Oh, we're walking on dead people," and I'm just like, "Huh? What do you mean by that?" She's like, "Well,
ooh,
that's what they say, right? But Beijing was made many, many, many years later, right? But then she basically said that you're walking on the supposedly million people that built the Great Wall over history. So it's like, oh, it's like a reminder that you're walking on like dead people, right? Because they're basically die and they get buried there because they're peasants. The emperor kind
yeah.
of does what he wants, and so that was a pretty interesting thing when you go to the Great Wall. Um, yeah,
I didn't know you went there as a kid.
I went there when I was 6,
Ooh,
and it
so you still
was
remember that?
it was horrifying. Yes,
Oh,
because there are literally parts of the Great Wall that are like this steep, like this. So when you're an adult, I've been there now as an adult in like 2013.
hmm,
You're walking up and it's like the wall's like this close to your legs. It's like you're just walking up slowly and it's like facing right in your
ah,
face.
yeah.
But as a kid, it's like, oh crap. Like again, like it's a super steep, walk down type of thing. And it's like it's horrifying as a kid. But yeah, I mean, it's a great place to go. I would say it's one of my highlights in China. And
That's the only reason I would go there is the Great Wall.
not see the tomb of Mao.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a few of them like the Forbidden City, which I know you just put a
it's also
video
in
up about.
Beijing.
Yeah,
Yes,
like
yes.
that's really cool to see. But for me, it's like as a kid, it was always just Great Wall of China. You can see it from space, and as much as I would love a moon base right now, we don't have one. So I would love to be able to see and go to something that you can see from space.
I
Like
still
that would be
remember
cool.
when I posted that image on my Facebook. It was like my cover photo. You were like, "This is cool" or something. I still remember that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It is a very beautiful, and the trippiest thing about the Great Wall is a very trippy thing is like you're standing at one of the top like tower things, like little towers. And if you have a zoom camera, you're like zooming and it's like it just goes on and on and on. It's like hugging the mountains like way in the distance. You're like, holy crap, like it's going all the way down. It is trippy. Like yeah,
You know,
it's amazing.
I don't have a good phone. When we lived in Korea, I used an old Android phone, and when we were on the border of South Korea, looking into North Korea, and there's a
Yeah,
yellow line that you can't take photos past, and everyone was, you could easily zoom in there and be like, "That's a ghost town." But if
right.
you have like a DLSR whatever, and you can look at it like the aperture zoom, whatever it is of a camera. I don't know. I'm not a camera guy either.
Yeah,
And you could see mountain ranges beyond that that looks like Kung Fu Panda. Cool. Like
right,
that's
right.
legit. Like
Yeah,
something 2,000 years ago they built. I would
yeah.
love to see that as opposed to, do you want to buy a hot cake?
I will
Do you want to buy
say,
some memorabilia?
somebody that loves history like me, one thing that I always do is like when I go to, and this I just can't do in America because America doesn't really have that. So if I were
We're
to,
the
if
new
I were
guy
to,
at the club.
yeah, if I went to
Yeah.
like Versailles or I went to the Great Wall, I would be walking in like let's say the palace or I'm walking in the tower of the Great Wall. I would literally imagine like, oh, there would be a Chinese guy standing right here, like a soldier, like 700 years ago. It's like, and I would imagine those things. Like, so I would imagine Louis walking by me, or like we were saying about Osaka Castle, like
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Japanese samurai, like,
Whenever
yeah,
I go somewhere, I try to imagine myself in like that time now, and that's
yep,
why I think history is fascinating.
yep,
Um, and as you were saying that, I thought, oh man, like Egypt would have been cool to see the pyramids being built or constructed, as opposed
right,
to now
right.
where it's like you're eating at a Pizza Hut. There's the Pyramid of Giza. Like that's not cool.
Not
But
sure
if you
the
can
Pizza
sit
Hut
there,
in Egypt, but yeah.
no, I think it's like right across the street. Like literally, I think there's pictures of
Oh,
it.
oh
I
wow,
think
didn't know
I
that.
think again, check it out. But I often do the same thing where I think
Mm,
you and I were in Kyoto and we
mm-hmm,
were in Nijo Castle and I was like standing up taking pictures and I was like, can you
mm,
imagine this? Like 400 years ago where there's no city and it's just like trees. Like
mm,
this
mm-hmm.
is your outlook. You can see everything. Like that to me is
Yeah,
what's cool.
yeah,
So I'm glad you brought that up because that's
yes.
exactly how I view it.
Yes, and the only thing with America that I would be like, "Oh, wow," would be like if I went to a, probably like a Civil War battleground or like a
Yeah.
Revolutionary War. I'm like, "Damn, this
Yeah.
is where, they fought," and I would have that imagination. Like, if you go to the White House, I won't be thinking like that. I don't know if you would, but
No,
yeah, I
and
would be like,
you mentioned
"Oh,
that
James Madison," whatever.
from someone from San Antonio.
Mhm,
We have the Alamo. You can't really
mhm.
go up on that like out like the top part of it, but you can sort of see the surrounding areas. And there is a cannonball that's across the street from the Alamo, like stuck in the ground in like a glass case, and it even says like this is a cannonball. And it's like you look at it, and you're like, wow. And then you look at all the hotels and like the businesses around, you're like, if there was nothing here but like a
Mm,
desert,
yeah,
it would
right,
be
right, right.
terrifying to be in this little cathedral here behind us
Mm,
and seeing
mm,
an
mm, mm.
army of 3,000 like Mexican soldiers like ambushing you. So there are things where it's like I try to put myself in that aspect, like the mindset.
I will
Um,
say yes, I will say
yeah.
with Tokyo, there's a ton of
Oh yeah,
history, but I don't have
definitely.
that thought like you just said. I'm sorry,
No,
sorry.
when
I
I,
have that thought what you just said. Like I don't imagine Tokyo where I'm
yeah,
like, oh, samurais used to walk here, geishas used to
yeah,
walk here, because it's so modernized that I don't
yeah.
even have that thought.
When
Osaka
I'm up in
Castle, I do.
Skytree and I'm looking around Skytree, I'm like,
Right, right,
none of
right.
these buildings were here. This would be all my domain. Fuji over there looks a little threatening.
But yeah,
Like
I just yeah. Mm. I just don't have the thought when I'm in Tokyo. I will say. Yeah.
Himeji is one of those ones that you can do that. You
Mhm,
can
yes, yes,
literally
yes,
stand Osaka Castle's the other way because
yes,
it's on that high rise. You can literally
yes,
look out and see like the surrounding city,
yes, yes.
and that's a part of
And
history
and
that
and
it's like you can feel
yeah,
it.
trying to wrap this up, but I hopefully like in the future I would mention this place. There's a place called Matsumoto Castle. Chris and I have been there,
Ooh,
and it's a beautiful castle that has not been touched. It's
it's
original.
like original, yeah,
So it's original. It's the only castle that has not burned down, and it's in its original shape and design. So that is a place where it's like you're like, oh dang, there's like a Japanese guy like living here. because the staircases and everything were designed. I mean, it's still untouched.
Super narrow.
So it's like the original Japanese people lived there, right? And it's like tiny. So
And every
the old
night they have that
Japanese were
thing
like
lit up.
yeah. The old Japanese were like much smaller than they are now. Right? So yeah, that's a place where like, whoa, Matsumoto Castle. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think we talked quite a bit for this one.
Yeah, this
Went a
went
little
on for a
over
while.
a lot of tangents about the robot cafe or whatever that place is. So yeah, we're gonna come back next time for another episode. We'll find another topic to talk about. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and we
Yeah.
will see you guys next time. Peace.
Cool. Later.
Bye.